Hi, I'm Alyssa Dineen of Style My Profile, and this is my podcast, The Dating Lab. I want the Dating Lab to be a place that you can come to get tactical and practical advice on all things modern dating. I'm going to have some awesome guests to teach us even more, and I want to share client success stories to encourage you, as well as share other client stories that can help validate you and your experience, and hopefully help you on your dating journey. So enjoy and like and comment below. Hey Jennie, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good, good. So I have Jennie Young, and for those of you who don't know her yet, she's the founder of Burned Haystack Dating Method, and she is a professor at University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, and she has her PhD in rhetoric and discourse. And she started this amazing movement, Burned Haystack Dating Method, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about the current state of dating. So tell us how you got started.
So I started the method somewhat selfishly because I was just trying to make the dating apps work better for myself. There's all kinds of jokes in social media and the public sphere in general about online dating, and I'd heard all those jokes, and I thought I was somewhat prepared for the universe I was about to enter. And then it was so much worse than I thought. And I'm not an optimistic person. Like, if anything, I feel like I'm kind of jaded and pessimistic. So
Right.
the fact that I found the process so demoralizing, I think suggests that there are some really serious problems on the dating apps. And I realized number one, like this is a disaster. Like, I can't just keep doing this. Like, I'm not going to sit here and scroll and swipe my life away. Like, there's got to be a process. And so my academic expertise is in applied rhetoric, which is, I mean, there's a lot of definitions of rhetoric, but like, for the sake of simplicity, it's sort of a formalized way of reading between the lines to figure out kind of what's going on beneath the surface, what people are revealing when they don't intend to be revealing things. This is true of both words and images. We just call it visual rhetoric. We're talking about images. So with dating apps, you've kind of got both those components, right? You've got like the words people use and the pictures they choose to present. And so I decided I would bring my rhetorical expertise to this like mission. And I wrote some rules, some ground rules for governing app usage in a way that would protect my time for sure, but also be more effective and more efficient. And I called it Burned Haystack because I like metaphors. English professor, but people always talk about trying to find their needle in the haystack, right? And I wanted to really break that down. And I was thinking that's kind of the problem. Like, you can't pick through every piece of hay. Like, I'm gonna die before, like, literally, like, I will age out of this system
Right.
before that leads to a needle. So I Googled, how do you find a needle in a haystack, like a real needle in a real haystack? And the answer is that you burn the haystack to the ground, and that the needles will just emerge. So I started thinking about what's the equivalent of that in using a dating app. And the equivalent is to stop, instead of trying to find the one, just focus on getting people out of your haystack, like rule people out, not in. And then the needles would just kind of float to the top. So I started doing that, and it changed everything immediately. Like, all of a sudden I was meeting people who I actually considered dateable. And so I shared it with a couple of friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's something to this." And then I decided to turn it into an academic project. And that's when I started the Facebook group, and I started writing about it more seriously. And initially, that too was kind of self-serving because I thought maybe I can tolerate this if I can do it like in the name of knowledge acquisition or
Right, right.
rhetorical theory, right?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to like justify the fact that I was doing this thing in my life that I didn't really want to do. And then from there it just kind of exploded.
Right. Right. Okay. And
Yeah.
yeah, and actually, so when did you start the Facebook group after that?
I started the Facebook group in like late February of 23.
So yeah, people are really catching on to this method, and it's just been so empowering for women and non-binary people. So it's yeah, I'm such a fan. On that note, I wanted to ask you what do you feel like, in my opinion, so I've been a dating coach for 8 years now. I feel like things have deteriorated over, gotten worse in the last 8 years and sort of slowly just getting worse and worse. And so you've noticed that as well.
For
And
sure.
yeah. And so I guess I think people want to know, or I know that clients of mine, do you see that there is going to be a change? And do you think that that men are catching on to this? And what's your opinion on that?
Do I think men are catching on to Burned Haystack?
Well, I know they're catching on to that, but do you think people are learning from it, or, do you think that there's any hope?
Well, I think there's a small amount of hope because I think there's a small percentage of men who are listening and paying attention, but I don't think those were the men that were the problem in the first place. So I
Right.
think we're in a situation where the men who have been the problem, the men who are aggressive, the men who are toxic, the men who are, too busy to read profiles or who don't even feel that they should be bothered to read women's profiles because they don't think it matters. They're not listening. I mean, they haven't been listening for the last 50 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not listening now either. I do think we're going to reach a critical point, and I think we're quickly approaching it, where it's
Mm-hmm.
getting harder and harder for those men to get dates. I mean, there's a lot of data out that shows women are increasingly just opting out. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not at like a Korean 4B movement,
Right.
but there are segments of the dating market that are
Yeah.
implementing those
Absolutely.
kind of very, extreme ideologies. And, at a certain point, men will pay attention because they have to if they want to
Yeah.
get dates.
Right.
But there's also, there's also kind of an increasing gender divide in dating spheres right now, especially between women who are leaning more liberal and men who are leaning more conservative. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's part of what's happened in recent years is there are political ramifications in the dating market that
Yeah.
are, we're seeing as a result of what's going on in the national and international world.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And something that, is a big theme, obviously, in this is that men have just gotten so sexual
Yeah.
in online dating.
Mhm.
And do you think that that's just always been there and it's just now because they're able to express it so easily to strangers online? Do you think it's always been that way, or do you think it's gotten worse with society and, cultural kind of evolving? I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I have three answers to that. I think the first is that yeah, it's always been there, right? Like the dating apps have always just been a microcosm of what's already out there or a
Mhm.
reflection of what's already out there. So that's part of it. Tinder and swipe apps in general have just increased everyone's access to everything. People have become increasingly sort of disembodied and commodified. I mean, by the apps themselves, that's built into, if you are on a dating app, and, I say this as a person who's been on a dating app, you have made yourself a product, right? A capitalistic
Mhm.
product. I mean, these are businesses. And I'm not really making an ideological comments about that. It's simply a fact. But when we commodify people, we then, by definition, objectify those people. And the more people are, the more that effect increases. Whereas the early days of online dating were websites, right, that matched people up. That's a far different thing than the infinite scroll, right?
Yeah.
Where you can keep going forever. So there's this notion, that there's always someone else because there is always someone else. And then my third answer is that I do think in very recent political America, we're seeing and this is partly due to the proliferation of online pornography, but it's also due to, kind of the rise of the incels, a backlash against feminism, against movements like #MeToo. It's a result of, electing a sex offender to the highest position on the planet. I mean, all of these things have an effect. And,
Right.
if there's a notion that there's no consequences or very little consequences for this kind of behavior, I think a certain percentage of men just think it's worth a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And one thing that I love about your movement, even for me personally, which I wasn't even aware of, is I think so many women that I work with, and myself included, and friends, and probably people that we really gave things a pass because, I mean, like I kept saying to myself, oh, I guess this is just modern dating now.
Yep.
It's just how it is. I guess I just have to put up with that because that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And we were all doing that.
We were.
Like it just really just perpetuated everything because then if we're all accepting it as normal, it just kept getting worse and worse.
Exactly. And I think what was happening, or at least what was happening for me individually, and I think this explains why Burned Haystack has caught on, is that when I was doing this in a vacuum and just by myself and not talking to anybody about it, I was thinking, like this seems weird to me, but I guess this is how we do things. And then the light bulb moment, and the conversations you have on dating apps are bizarre, right? Like you say something and get a response and you're like, what's happening? Am I having a stroke? Or like, does he think he's talking to someone else? And this was happening over and over again. And I really did. Like, I was internalizing all that. And then one day I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm still a person in the world. And I talk to people all day, every day. And I don't have a hard time figuring out what's going on or holding the thread of the conversation. It's just in this one very narrow instance. And then when I started talking to other women, they were like, yeah, that's happening to me too, right?
Yeah.
And then as this Facebook group and then the Instagram community started to build, when you have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 women saying the same thing, it's very empowering because it was like we all called bullshit on the gaslighting collectively and in a really powerful way just because of the sheer numbers. And it became impossible for us to then gaslight ourselves and be like, yeah, I guess I'm the problem here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's so true.
So I think it was comforting. It was definitely comforting for me.
Yeah. Oh,
of that community.
And I mean, I think so much of it is, validating women, that no, that isn't okay, actually. And trusting your gut. I mean, I feel like, whatever, 99 out of 100 times when someone comes to me with something that's concerning them, they already know the answer. Yep. They just want someone to say, you're absolutely right. I get that weird feeling too. And I feel like what you're doing is really encouraging women just from the get-go, trust your gut right away. Like instead of just ignoring, like you say all the time in your group, whether it's going to be today, 3 months from now, or 5 years from now, it is going to come out. So why not, catch it obviously right away before, it's too late. And I think that's just so, I love that. I just feel like it's just been so empowering for my community too. Because of course I tell everybody they need to join all my female clients, they need to join your group.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I feel like it's just been so really just so groundbreaking for everybody. So thank you again for doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you for giving us space to talk about it.
Yeah. So on a positive note, I want to talk to you. You and I have discussed in the past the similarities we see in our success stories within our community. And there's so much overlap. So I just want to talk about that with everybody. And I think it's just so encouraging. Tell me what you notice are the common themes with your success stories.
So I did like a real formal analysis of this because one of the methods that Burned Haystack is premised upon is called critical discourse analysis, which
Mm-hmm.
is like one form of applied rhetoric that's very methodical. And I wrote it all up as a paper that's accessible through the group. But basically what I did was I took a number of profiles that had worked, that had led to, needles, people being partnered in healthy relationships. That's important too, not just finding someone, but finding, a good match. And I analyzed them all individually. And then I looked at the commonalities across all of those things. And I can actually, if you give me 1 second here,
Yeah,
I
sure.
can pull that up because there were like, if I'm remembering this right, there were maybe like 5 things that really rose to the surface. So let me scroll to the bottom of this thing. It's quite lengthy, but that's because I included I wanted to have the actual artifacts. I wanted people to be able to look at screenshots of what someone put on Bumble with their pictures
Yeah,
and all
great.
that.
And is this accessible to people? Can they find this if
They can, it's not, you can get it if you're in my Facebook group. And then you can get it for free. It's not behind a paywall or anything, but I didn't put it out on the open web.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here, the 5 things I found that are working. Number one, clarity. Be really clear about what you want, like within your own head. I think that's really important. Number two, directness. So then be direct about that clarity. So kind of, take the time to think through all that, but then share it. I don't think a dating app profile is the place to be cagey. I also don't think you should reveal, every element of your life or your deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah.
But I think you should be transparent about what you're looking for. So, if what you want is marriage, say that. And, is that going to scare away a certain percentage? Yeah. And you want to scare them away. So scare them away, right? If you are adamantly not polyamorous, say that, because this is a big problem right now for people on the dating apps who want monogamous partnerships. And this depends on what area of the country you live in too, but it's particularly a problem in California. There's just a large percentage of the population is apparently polyamorous, which again, I'm not casting any judgment on that, but
Really
it's a really
interesting.
difficult situation for someone who's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, clarity, directness. Intentional crafting of appealing tone. That's more nuanced, but I break it down in the report. And I would say the key takeaway of that is how do you come across as someone who is strong and resolute, but not so rigid that they're going to be a person that you can't really be in a relationship with, because that's a problem too, right? All relationships involve some level of flexibility. So it's kind of like how do you hit that rhetorical sweet spot? And it's hard to explain in a directive way, but that's why I included actual examples in this report.
Right.
And look at it and be like, oh, I see it. Number 4, being specific and concrete. So instead of saying, I have a great sense of humor, I would rather read somebody say, I love Nate Bargatze, Jerry Seinfeld, and Michelle Wolf, right? Because if those are shared, preferences, you've gone a lot farther down the path of forging a connection than just saying, I have a great sense of humor.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I had is brevity. And I think that's kind of a sweet spot scenario too, because you want to include, and this speaks more to your work, you want to include enough information that you're giving people an idea of who you are, but you also don't want to write a dissertation, in your, because I then kind of broke that down into more specific advice. So Point one, clarity. Nix the cliches. Nobody needs to know if you're living life to the fullest or you love to laugh or you love live music. Like,
Right.
not do
Yeah.
anything to
Yeah.
differentiate you.
Yes. Yes. I love trying new restaurants.
Right. I'm a people person. My children are important to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Like, we
Right.
assumed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number two, delete anger from your profile. And this is dicey because there's a lot to be angry about.
Mm-hmm.
You still don't want to come across as angry. It's
Yeah.
off-putting.
Yeah.
Not in your profile. It's kind of like, if you go to a job interview, there's a lot of things to be angry about in capitalistic America. But if you choose your job interview to give voice to all that, you're just not going to get a job, right?
Yes.
Like, we got to be pragmatic here.
Yeah. And I don't know, I actually, we say no negativity, not just anger, but like, no, not the typical thing that I give as an example is like no drama, no baggage, like,
right.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah. I had I said ditto for instructive. Don't tell people how to be. That's a huge problem for all genders. Like, I used to think it was just men who did that, but apparently women do it too.
They do. They do. Yeah.
That gives you nothing. Not only is it really like off-putting and rude and presumptuous, but like, in what world does that work? Right?
Yeah. Like, definitely.
Nobody's going to change their personality as a result of something a stranger told them to do online. Plus, more insidiously, you could just be giving someone instructions on how to misrepresent themselves to you.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Number three, don't try to appeal to everyone. Like, just be who you are.
Yes.
Like,
be weird. Be
weird.
Weird.
Yeah. Be quirky. Yeah. Point four, don't be a cool girl or a pick-me girl. Those terms are Googleable. And my students tell me, they're like, that's problematic. You shouldn't pick on the pick-me girls, which I get that. I still don't think you want to present yourself as a pick-me girl in your dating app. It just smacks of desperation and sets you up for exploitation.
Right. Yep.
And then my last point is set your boundaries. And you can do that clearly and politely, even with a good dose of humor. And I have a lot of examples of people doing that really successfully.
Can you give us a couple?
I mean, lately the big issue is political, right? So I think saying something like, I identify strongly as a feminist and wouldn't be good in a match that doesn't make space for that, right? Like, that's a clear boundary. It's stated in a positive framework. For some reason, like, willingness to relocate comes up a lot, or at least I ran into that all the time on the dating apps, where I'd meet some guy and his first question would be like, are you willing to relocate? Well, no, I guess a job in life, right?
Right.
But I think stating that, but also that's in a state of flux for a lot of people too, because we are more digitally
and some
nomadic,
people are
right?
actually willing to relocate,
for sure, or even want to. So stating that one way or the other, I think is not a bad idea in 2024 dating. Food issues have come up a lot in conversations. If you're like vegan and that's a not just a menu preference, but like a if that's something really important to you in your lifestyle, I would say stuff like that too, just in the interest of, number one, not wasting time, but that could be like a really strong resonating factor if you find someone else who feels the same way.
Yeah. And a good filter for someone who's going to be eye rolling about it, or
for sure. Yeah. Or if you want children or you don't want children.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, at my age, that's not like a big issue. But for someone who's 30 years old, 35 years old, like, that might be a really important thing to state one way or the other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And, one thing that I always think about when I'm following your group is that, we as women, we grew up in a society where we were told to, we wanted to be attracted to the men that were not available, that basically we wanted to be it was like this weird thing where you wanted to be chaste, but then
Right.
you're also going for the unavailable men who gave
Right.
the brush off or were rude to you, basically.
Yes.
Especially like I'm in high school, middle school, high
Yeah.
school. And I think that we're finally like releasing that,
Yeah.
cultural, norm that we've been following. So what I like about your movement and what I see and, with my clients too in the success stories is that women are now going for the nice guys, the ones that
Yes.
are available and the ones that are responsive and the ones that
Yep.
do ask the, very thoughtful, sweet questions of you and all of the things that we were taught to be sort of disgusted by / like not attracted to. Now that's becoming attractive, which is amazing, of course.
Right. Thank goodness. I think if I could tell people like a couple of things really quickly, what I would say is stop making these decisions based on looks and chemistry. Like
Yes.
that's
Oh my God. Yeah.
really destructive. Like choose based on character, on honesty, on behavior.
Yep.
Because if you don't have those things, then the chemistry doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. Or
And chemistry can grow when you have some of these other really important foundational things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen it happen so many times.
Me too, over and over and over again. And there's a lot of great info. I mean, Logan Urie's book talks a lot about that. She has a new Netflix series now.
Yeah.
Jillian Turecki talks about that all the time. Choose based on character. Stop choosing based on chemistry or what you think chemistry is, because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that what people interpret as sexual chemistry is actually something more akin to fear, right?
Yeah.
Just not a great metric upon which to find partners, especially from the internet. That's terrifying.
Oh my God. I know. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And yet I still see women do this of all ages, by the way. You know that my clients are, anywhere from 25 to 75, actually up to 80 even. And it happens throughout all the ages that, you kind of have these things in your head that you've always quote unquote been attracted to and you can't get them out of like I've actually had not arguments, but heated discussions with clients when they just are putting their foot down about this height thing, like with women, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not attracted to somebody who's less than 6 feet and I'm 5'1", by the way. And I'm not trying to be critical. And what people argue with me is like, I'm attracted to what I'm attracted to. I'm not going to be with somebody I'm not attracted to. And in no way are any of us saying you should be with somebody that you're not attracted to.
Right.
But the fact that you're limiting yourself so much by something like height or whether they have hair or not, or there's so many superficial qualities that once you really get down to it, I mean, they so don't matter. And
at all.
And if you're with someone who is amazing and values you and you have fun with and you feel, I don't know, like you feel like they're your best friend.
Right.
Then all of those things really don't matter. I mean, are you choosing your friends based on how tall they are?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's a good question to ask, because the answer to that is always no, right?
Absolutely not. Or how much money they make, or how they wear their hair. No, none of us are choosing our friends based on those things.
Right.
So I wish more people would approach it that way. But that's a hard one. That's a really hard one. Some people really can't let it go. And it's something that really, whenever I post about something like this on social media, it gets a huge backlash, mostly from women, where they're like, don't tell me who I can be attracted to or who I'm attracted to. I'm not going to go for the ugly guy, whatever. It's like people just assume you're telling them to go for someone they're like absolutely disgusted by. And that's that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
So that leads me to my other question. So in your community, we see all of the people that have met their needle. And as we've talked about, like there are the common themes that I see too. And one of them being that they're not blown away by their profile. I hear that one a lot. Well, his profile was sort of ho-hum or sort of just whatever, or sort of boring or whatever it is. But I, swiped right or messaged or whatever it is. And then, once we met in person, I hear the same thing. Like the first date, there wasn't a lot of chemistry, but he was really nice and
Yeah.
really
Right.
kind or really funny. And we had a great time, but there was no attraction. Second date, maybe something similar, got to know him even better, really liked him, but still nothing. And sometimes it's like third, fourth, fifth date that people are actually finding that they're interested and attracted to in the person. And I feel like I see that in your group too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I hear over and over and over again, and I mean in close to 100% of success stories, and this is a lot of success stories at this point, so I'm not talking about like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
Is that communication from the beginning was respectful, that they never start with looks, they never start with sex, that there was a back and forth, that they asked questions, that men were forthright in asking for a date and planning the date.
Yes.
That they then showed up on time and looked nice and, didn't play the whole hard to get thing. That at the end of the night said, I had such a wonderful time. I would love to see you again. Right. That like from the beginning, there's this reliable consistency, kindness, respectability, like basically the things we would look for in a friendship.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And same. And I do feel like I've seen this several times with the success stories you posted, where sometimes they've said, like, I really wasn't sure, even, a couple of months in, I wasn't sure, but I just really enjoyed them as a person, or, really respected them and felt respected. And then it's still like, it did develop though, and
For
I feel like that is just so it's just such a good thing for people to remember that, I mean, most of the time when there's major crazy chemistry on the first date, that does not actually, usually, I feel like it doesn't mean anything good.
Yeah. I would even just say it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes there's crazy chemistry and it does turn out to be a good thing. And sometimes it's a disaster and sometimes it just falls apart. But in any case, like for good or bad, chemistry does not seem to be a reliable indicator in any direction.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so I hope that everybody keeps those things in mind when they're looking at profiles, that it's not necessarily going to be the guy you think. I talked about this actually with my interview with Jillian, is that it's, the people that are hot are the ones that you end up like giving in on you kind of give in on things that you wouldn't with other people. You may, let your walls down a little too soon. You may, forget about your boundaries. There's a lot of things that happen when you think someone's hot that are not necessarily good for you. Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say too, that I keep coming back to is, when men hear about the method, it's also an interesting, there's like two reactions, I think. It's like, and it's a good filter, right? It's like the men who are like offended or, think that it's, whatever anything negative, they're the ones that are they're the ones that are, that's why we're doing it.
Right.
And
yeah,
the ones
exactly.
that are like, that's interesting. They're the ones that are the guys that you want to date, because they're like not offended by it, because they're not
threatened by it, because they don't have reason to be. Right.
Exactly.
Like any man who's threatened by Burned Haystack is a man you don't want to date.
Right, exactly. Because it should not be threatening to a man, because we're not saying don't date any men. We're saying don't date men that exhibit these qualities and, talk about sex right away without even meeting you first, and, all these things. If you're a quality man, you'll totally agree with us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then one other thing I want to say is, as a thought leader in the dating world, how can we help men that are in the dating pool, that maybe they do want to be better, or, they do want to learn. Maybe they didn't realize they were doing these things. Do you think there is hope for those men that?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's hope for anybody who wants to learn anything, right? Like the information is out there, and it's true that we don't let men join the Facebook group, but there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's tons of articles, there's podcasts. So yeah, I definitely, I've thought a lot about this, and I get a lot of inquiries that say, have you thought about doing a burned haystack for men? And the answer is no. Because for one thing, like, I'm just one person, right? Like, this is my niche. I'm
Right.
working with women and non-binary people. There's plenty of male rhetoricians, and they can do their own thing. But also the information is out there. Like, they could just pay
Yeah.
attention
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And there are a
Absolutely.
lot of men. There are a lot of male influencers who are doing really, really interesting, productive, beneficial work with men.
Right.
And I'm kind of happy to let them do that.
Right, right. Just another thing I wanted to talk about is, you have our DIY profile kit that's
Yeah.
in your Burned Haystack Facebook group. And by the way, I'm so flattered to be so far the only dating coach that you've collaborated with. So thank you for that. But I'm
You're
curious,
welcome.
what was it about the DIY profile kit that you found that you really liked, and also that you knew that would be helpful for your community?
Yeah. So, on a very broad level, I realized that this was a level of guidance that I was not providing, because I'm kind of like very focused on the analytical end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Analyzing what's already there. But I wasn't doing much to help people create their own profiles, at least not to the degree that's necessary. So I loved that you were doing that, and also that you had this very like clear, concrete system to walk people through the process. It's just presented very nicely for, not much money at all. I mean, especially, if you meet your soulmate, was it worth $32 or whatever? I don't remember what it is with our discount.
34. Yeah.
And like, yeah, absolutely. Women would pay 10 times that, right?
Right.
If
I know.
that leads
I
to
know.
their needle. And I also liked how transparent you are about the fact that you're not selling a magical formula or some kind of insider knowledge that's not available,
Exactly.
because there is no magic formula. There is no
No.
magic trick.
Exactly.
But what you've done is curated something that can give people confidence, that can help them develop something that's thorough and effective and individualized to them, because it's so overwhelming. If you've never done this before, to start from zero, like, it's pretty daunting. And
Yeah.
you've taken that dauntingness out of it, and you walk people through. And also, everything you're telling people is in keeping with Burned Haystack methodology, which among dating coaches is unusual for me to find.
Right. 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 Well, thank you.
Like, there's a lot of advice out there from dating coaches that I think is really detrimental to women. So I'm super careful
I
about,
know. I
who I
know.
want to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of it myself,
I'm
and
sure you have. Yeah.
yeah. And actually, one thing that I wanted to say too is that I've had a couple of people from your group that have purchased it, that reached out to me saying, I just wanted to thank you. Your profile kit, in conjunction with everything I learned from Jennie, led me to my needle, and now I'm so happy, and send me photos, and I love it. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's so rewarding, isn't it, when you see that happen?
So rewarding. Yeah. So yeah, I just feel like it's a great combo. So I'm really happy that we joined forces.
Oh, I am too. Yeah. Our communities and our separate work seems to nicely dovetail in a way that I think sets people up for more success.
Yes, agreed. Well, thank you so much. I am so glad to have this conversation with you, and I think it will really actually be so helpful for people. And I do feel like it's encouraging. I know that a lot of it can feel negative and disheartening,
Yeah.
online dating these days, but I think there is hope, and there are people meeting their needles.
There are,
like
every
a
day.
lot of them. I know.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind, everybody. Don't
Yeah.
lose hope. And then tell everybody. So you have a book coming out. Tell us briefly about that.
I have a book forthcoming from HarperCollins called Burned the Haystack, which will be, everything comprehensive. So,
Nice. It's going to be
yeah.
so great for everybody. Just have it all in one
Yes.
easy place. And then tell us where we can find you and follow you.
Okay, so if you search Burned Haystack Dating Method on Facebook, the group will pop up, so you can join
Mhm.
there. I'm at word case scenario on Instagram. So like worst case scenario, except
Yes.
word, WRD, with underscores, word case scenario. The Facebook group will link you to that too. But honestly, the easiest thing to do is join the Facebook group and it'll connect you to everything else. But if you're not on Facebook, like a lot of people aren't right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can just follow on Instagram. And then I also have 2 Substacks. One is just Burned Haystack. So it's Burned Haystack on Substack. The other is called Rhetoric in Real Life, where we take Burned Haystack methodology and apply it to other aspects of life, whether it's workplace or family or
Great.
anything
Yeah.
other
Love
than
it.
dating.
And men can follow you on Instagram,
Yep.
correct? And
Yep.
then can they also join your Substack, or is that also just
Right now they can.
okay?
I am debating what I'm going to do with Substack. Right? I mean, Substack, it's a public platform.
Yeah.
There is a way to lock it down and make it private. I have not done that yet. It's going to depend on kind of what happens with
Yeah.
the. So far, I haven't had a huge problem.
So men who are listening or watching this, get on now while you can and learn what you can
Right.
on Substack.
And
And
don't
then
hit on the
also,
women who are already there.
yes, please,
Yeah,
please.
that's
And
not
then
why we're there.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then follow her on on IG at Word Case Scenario for sure. Yeah. So for those of you want to learn something, there it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me on the Dating Lab. I hope you found what you heard helpful, and if you did, please like and comment below, and even better, subscribe, and hope to see you here next time.